What up? What up? This is the Spare No Effort podcast. I'm with my guy, my brother, Derrick Jackson.
Yo, 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 what's good, my brother?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Everything good, though.
Yeah, everything good. How I know work has been a little crazy.
Yeah, work been wild, out of control. It's finally, starting to calm down. You know how it
You
works.
said work been what? I'm sorry. You said work been what? Out of control? Is that what you said?
Yeah, yeah, it's been, out of control, but it has calmed down. You know how it is when you're short staffed, You got to be everywhere, every single moment. So, yeah,
Trust me, I know that.
definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
don't want to say too much. I don't want to get your ass fired.
Nah.
No, I'm
This is my
joking. I'm
job.
joking. Yeah, man, work ain't no joke, man. And then I think right now we're in just as a country, it's high stress times and it's kind of wild right now. So,
Definitely, definitely. The country, on the other hand, has been crazy. you know, Trump and his nonsense.
I mean, it's wild. And, what I've come to learn, and we've discussed this before
Mhm.
offline, is regardless of who is in office, you just gotta try to put yourself in the best position to take care of yourself and take care of your loved ones. And
Definitely.
that's all we can do, truthfully. You just gotta keep grinding and keep working and keep building and create more value for yourself.
Yeah, control what you can't control.
Yeah. Yeah. And truthfully for us, man, we came from the bottom, right? We know what it's like to be at the bottom. And
Mhm.
even myself, I'm gonna be honest with you, I've kind of mentally prepared myself for how it would be if things get bad. You know what I mean? You may have to, if things get really bad, you may have to go back to kind of shacking up with family. All of us coming in together, you know what I mean? Reduce the cost of rent and living and utilities. I mean, just kind of got that in my mind because, once again, we come from that. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So,
Go. You got to get back to the survival mode.
yeah, if it gets to that, in the meantime, we keep grinding and because, it's more than just us. I know you have children and me, I don't have any children, but I have loved ones that are close to me that I, support when I can. And I want to continue to be able to support them as well as provide for myself. All
Right,
right.
right, right.
So,
No doubt, no doubt.
yeah, this is where we're at, man. Yeah, since we had our last episode, there's been a lot that has happened. One of the things is, and I told you this. I've been posting shorts every
Right.
week or whatever, right? Motivational shorts, and one of them, and I don't want to discuss. I don't ever want to talk down on people or anything, and really not trying to talk about people's personal lives and the issues that they may have going on. But the Shannon Sharp situation and all that's going on with it, I didn't really talk about it. I just wanted to use it, just pull the lesson from it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wanted to talk about what we can learn from it. And it was just the basis of it was staying humble and staying grounded. But what's interesting, and I told you this, is that got the most views of any short that I posted.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Which is, and I told you intentionally when we started this back up, I didn't want to talk too much about like crazy things going on in the world.
Mhm.
But I do want to pull lessons from situations, you know what I mean? Where
Mhm.
we can learn from them. I don't want to, that whole situation, I don't know what happened, but I think it's a lesson. And not to say Shannon Sharp isn't grounded or isn't humble, but this is why it's important to stay humble. Because once again, we come from the bottom. We've been up and we've been down, and it's going to continue to happen.
That's
But a
true.
lot of times when and you pay attention to people, and me, I just, both of us, I think we've always been reserved and quiet and pay attention to how people move and just you start to learn certain patterns of people, just of human nature. And then it comes along with studying human nature. But so many people, and I've said this a lot, so many people when they get a win, it goes to their head and they become irrational.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
they start to think that they are exempt from the
Mhm.
rules. Once again, not saying this is the case with Shannon Sharp. I'm just
But
talking
we
about
talked
people in
about that,
general.
and he had so many wins. to the point where you can almost argue that, maybe he felt untouchable in some aspect
Now,
of his life.
no, you can argue that, and I think you can argue that based on like, hey, I'm not gonna lie, if it was me, I may have felt like Teflon Don. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
once again, we don't know for sure how he
I
was moving. I
definitely.
can't, not enough evidence to even show. And if he has gotten cocky, it's in a sense warranted because of
Hmm.
what he's accomplished. But even the average person wouldn't stay grounded, it wouldn't stay humble.
Right.
And that's where those blind spots happen. That's where those slip ups happen.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's important. It's important. Gotta stay humble and gotta stay grounded,
And
man.
then in his situation, and in the situations with a lot of celebrities, you have to know who to trust. When you go to the recording, and every time I think about the situation, I think about that recording. That was wow right there. And I know you can easily say they was role playing, foreplay, however, but when you're dealing with the opposite race in our situation, a white woman, I don't care what era we in, what year it's in, you still got to tread lightly. I can't see myself, saying some stuff like that, to a woman, even if she was, our race, black or whatever, talking about I'm gonna choke you and all that. Like, man, that was wild.
Yeah, that was
That was
Shannon,
wild.
right? That was one of those moments. Like, you're
Yeah.
trying to defend them, but yeah, and yeah, but Shannon has been on top for a while now,
Uh-huh.
and once again, those blind spots happen. But what's interesting, he has spoke about how he tries to protect himself. I've seen clips where he's talking about he don't get on an elevator alone with a woman. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember when the whole Deshaun Watson thing happened, I can remember him talking about how I think he just had one masseuse that he trusted or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And he just talked about that. But I don't know. You know what I mean? But regardless if he did it or not, it's, you have to try to protect yourself. You
Definitely.
know what I mean? But I can't, yeah, I'm not here to judge the man with these situations.
Yeah.
You
But like
know,
you said on the
I just,
on the short, we don't know the guy to judge the guy.
yeah, not at all. And regardless of I just hope justice will be served. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? That's how if he's innocent, and it's a civil suit, so it's hard to say, you know what I mean? But I just hope justice is served, whichever way it went.
Right.
The truth. I just hope justice is served and it's fair. Right. But yeah, gotta stay humble, gotta stay grounded in so many times. And even myself, I will be honest, in younger years, you get a win or you feel like you're doing well, you get a little big headed.
Yeah.
And for me, I'll say don't nothing humble you like losing a loved one, especially a parent.
Hmm.
And one of those things, so me losing my mother is one of the things that kind of kept me humble. But even before that, going through my severe, phase of anxiety where it was tough, trying to get my mental health right.
Hmm.
And yeah, don't nothing humble you like struggling with mental illness because you know how bad it can get,
Yeah.
right? You know how bad it can get. And yeah, I've been, I told you I went to the hospital because I thought I was having a serious medical condition, and it was a
Hmm.
panic attack, a severe panic attack. I've had been dealing with anxiety to the point to where it's tough to leave the house,
Yeah.
so knowing that I've had to deal with that, like what I look like getting a big head, and all it
Hmm.
takes is, you know what I mean, a bad day, or just it don't even have to be a bad day. It can just be something internally that that imposter syndrome get to kicking in and thinking I don't belong or whatever the case may be. Or losing a loved one. Like I said, mother got diagnosed with cancer, and then she transitioned about a year later. So you don't know what life is gonna throw at you. You know what I mean? And it will humble you. So it's important to stay humble and still treat others with respect and kindness.
Definitely. Yeah. But yeah. So, what topic we starting with today, my brother?
It's funny because I had text you a couple of topics, right? One of them, and I had to go back and look, and I still do remember what made me think about think to text you this topic.
Right.
Um, and this is something based off a post I seen from someone, and this is the question: do you think social media is truly separate from real life. Because a lot of people, they post crazy, outlandish things on their social media. And a lot of times it's not a true reflection of them for the people that I know personally half the time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I seen one person say, yeah, I do know this social media is just for entertainment. It's not real life. And I actually disagree with that I disagree with that personally. But I did want to ask you what your thoughts are.
Is social media real life? To some people, it is because it's based off their perspective. Because some people
Mhm,
believe what they see on social media, but
mhm,
then you have the AI effect coming in. Sometimes I don't
mhm,
even know what's real or what's not. I go to the comments sometimes to to get some clarity on what's real or what's not.
mhm,
So I think it is based off of the perspective of whom eyes you're looking through. Because
mhm.
people just some people are very gullible to the fact they will believe a lot they see on social media, and then for some people social media is their life. Some
Mhm.
people are engaged in social media more than they are engaged in reality because they tie
Yeah,
them.
of course. True. True. I'll say, I think for individuals personally, social media is still a part of your life and it is still a part of your personal brand. So
Uh-huh.
if you on here, and that's something that a lot of people really have to recognize that when you apply for a job, sometimes the leader of that organization, the human resource manager, they will search your name on social media and
Uh-huh.
see what pops up. And if it don't align with their organization's brand, they will not hire you.
It is
You
true.
can have an impeccable resume, but if what you're doing on how you're promoting yourself don't align with their organization's values, they may not hire you.
Yep, yep, yep,
You know
totally.
what I mean? So it's about perception. And even if you are individual that are married and you're married, but you're projecting this wild single life, it's you're representing your name, you're representing your
Mhm.
family. And how do you want your family to be represented? And that's what a lot of people really I feel like they do need to realize.
Yeah, and a lot of
It,
people don't think that deeply into it.
you say what now?
Some people do not think that deeply into it. The
Yeah, a lot of people.
representation, like they don't. Some people don't look at that at all.
No, true. And I will be the first to say that I'm an overthinker, right? I think too deep into things. But I think a lot of people in today's society aren't thinking deep enough about things. Just like I posted a video on Facebook and shout him out again. Shout out to Daryl Jackson II. But Daryl posted a video first
Hmm.
talking about how he's sick of seeing videos posted of fights going down his timeline. And most of the time it's women. And he said you think like, oh, it ain't nothing. It's just a fight. We live out here. You know what I mean? It's just for Facebook. It's just social media. But then you see kids in the background and
Yeah.
they're crying and they're sometimes trying to break up the fight. And Daryl said, he said, y'all are traumatizing these kids.
Hmm.
And I posted a video and agreed with them. And I agree with them, of course. And I shouted them out and thanked them for actually saying out loud what I was thinking at least. And then I added on to that and I said, we're also teaching these kids how to resolve conflict. This is how we resolve conflict violently.
Hmm.
And we're tired of seeing school gang fights or school stabbings or school shootings. You know what I mean? And that's where I think we got to think a little deeper about our actions and what we're presenting to the world. Because it's just spreading that, in my opinion, it's just spreading that kind of energy, just putting that kind of energy out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that same energy that you posting, that same energy of someone fighting and it's a gang fight or whatever, that's the same type of energy and emotion that leads to a shooting.
Hmm. And then also with that,
So
posting people. That's why a lot of people would rather shoot than getting into a fight because the social media it follows you for. Well, I don't think social media is going anywhere, so it can follow you for life. Some people can't bear
I'm
that
not gonna lie.
embarrassment.
I mean, I don't like. I'm at this point. I prefer peace, so I don't plan on getting into another fight ever again. But if it do come down to it, I would prefer. I don't even want to. win or lose, I don't want to be recorded fighting for one, and I really prefer not to get like not be on the winning end of that fight on camera. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna lie. So, but that's something a lot of people don't think about, and that's something that can make somebody lose it and be ready to shoot something up.
Hmm. I'm
Yeah, but
sure. I'm sure that's in somewhere around the world, somewhere around the country, that has been the situation. Somebody, knowing the people who record and refuse to fight and shoot someone, and
yeah,
those situations
yeah,
we just can't have.
yeah. Well, and what's unfortunate is in these videos, we're the generation now. We are the adults of the generation, and you see guys out there our age, even older than us, recording the fights, commentating.
Hmm.
Like, man, y'all are grown. Y'all are still doing things that, doing high school type, doing thing like y'all still in high school. You know what I mean? So that's what's frustrating. You know what I mean? And I personally, I have two nieces. I have goddaughters. Your daughter's one of them. Younger cousins. If I see a video of my younger cousin getting ganged or getting beat up real bad, and it's a grown man my age out there recording it, I'm gonna want to come. I'm gonna want to see him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a problem with him. You know what I mean? So it's just a uh just I don't know, just a different perspective to have. I think we do need to think a little deeper, be more conscious of our actions and what we're putting out there to the world.
Hmm. I'm with you on that, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. I do want to, because it's another topic, and I can't remember what made me think of this, but I thought about you in particular, and I forgot how I worded the question, but let me see. Oh, this is the question. So, is it cool to get some hits in on someone your after your friend already won the fair fight?
What we
I
talking?
forgot what made me think about it. And of course, like I'm not promoting violence. I forgot. It may have just been a conversation. I truly forgot what made me think about it.
Hmm.
But yeah, is it cool to just get some licks in after your friend has won a fair fight, a
Okay.
fair one, a one-on-one?
Your friend won a fair fight. And I'm gonna say no, it's not cool. You know, uh, to get some licks in. He already won. The fight is over with. That is unnecessary. I can totally agree to that. Not agree. I would say that that's unnecessary. Now,
Okay.
you have situations, certain bonds between people that whether he won or lost, whether she won or lost, I'm gonna get some licks in too, just because you want to fight my people. A lot of people,
Yeah.
have those, connections and bonds or agreements with each other, where that's where the case may be. But I thought you were
Uh-huh.
saying that, and I thought what made you think of that is back in high school. With
No, that was a story that I thought of. That was a story that I thought of.
okay.
I forgot truly what made me think about it because I thought about it and texted the topic a few weeks ago. But I did think of that story, and it could have just been a conversation that I had with
Hmm.
someone. But I was thinking that, because how we grew up, family especially, and close friends, one come home beat up, you all better come home beat up. You better not
Hmm.
let your brother, come home beat up and you didn't do nothing. You better not let your sister, and the same thing with friends. But I was just wondering, once it's a fair fight. It's a fair fight, and your friend won. Now you're gonna get a couple of kicks in. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just wondering that, but I did think about that in high school.
Hmm.
I won't say the individual's name, of course, and hopefully it's been so long, maybe he's forgot about it. Odds are he hasn't, right?
Well, as the victim, he may not forget because we damn sure ain't forgot.
Yeah.
But did we run into him downtown?
Yes,
You
and I
remember?
don't. He may not have remembered you,
Yeah, yeah. May not.
and if you don't mind, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, we can talk about it. Shit.
Okay. Ironically, we just got through saying like let's stop spreading violence and let's
Yeah. Well, I
learn how
mean,
to resolve conflict.
it was a chapter of our life. It was high school.
Yeah.
Almost 20 years ago. To be honest, what
Yeah,
was
high
that?
school,
That was my
about 18,
sophomore
about
year.
18 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, almost
It
20
was
years
like
ago.
06, 07, 06, 07 school year.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually was cool with the guy.
Yeah.
I
I was
had some
cool.
classes with him.
That's what's crazy. I was cool with him. We had class together right before lunch or right after lunch. So that's what made it, pretty weird for me. But even after that, he ain't say nothing to me. We ain't had no issues,
He probably didn't see you hitting him.
probably didn't, because
He
it was a
probably still to
big
this day
crowd.
don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He may see this and be like, "That all these years." You know what I mean? No, I'm joking.
Like that motherfucker. But yeah,
Yeah,
man.
no, seriously.
Yeah, so man, I can tell you how it started, man. So those,
Yeah, yeah, because I remember the story exactly,
yeah.
but I how you told it, and I have a good memory, but I do want you to tell the story.
So those who went to McGavick in that look 4 year block, remember it was a guy, a little young goofy white guy, cool guy. He used to do like river dances and stuff in the hallways in the lunchroom. Ernest always found stuff funny, giggle, laugh at a lot of stuff. So he used to do the little river dances, and we had the chicken sandwiches with the aluminum foil wrap around. Do you remember those?
I remember those chicken sandwiches.
Yeah, so we had the chicken
It was it
sandwiches.
Tyson chicken sandwiches
Tyson
by
chicken
chance?
sandwiches. Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
So he had the chicken sandwich. We wrapped it up. We had the table, BSing around. It's me, him, Devon Moore, and I can't remember who else was at the table. They wasn't. I don't think it was anybody else from my south. I feel like it was just some random people that we
You
went to school with.
incriminating people too. You incriminating them. No, I'm
Nah,
joking.
man,
I'm
we in
joking.
high school, man.
Statute limitations up.
Yeah,
Statute
like come on
limitations
now.
up,
You know what
brother.
I'm saying? I
And
mean,
y'all
we ain't
got
commit
punished.
no crimes.
And y'all got punished for it over
Yeah,
there.
yeah, exactly, exactly. We served our time. Uh, So yeah, man, dude was doing the dance. Ernest used to joke with him and stuff. So Ernest took the chicken sandwich wrapper and threw it, but he missed him and hit your boy.
And
But
Ernest didn't have no malicious intent. He was just joking with him and
yeah, he was
like
just
threw
joking
it,
with the
but it
dude
missed
because
him and hit the other
everybody
guy.
at the time, everybody was throwing like little stuff at him. Like they wasn't trying to hurt him or nothing, but they was like, kind of like, somebody dancing on the crowd and they not dancing on the stage, not doing well. So you throwing like tomatoes type thing. It was sort of like a little vibe like that. Like when nobody hurting him
Yeah,
or anything, but I'm just throwing stuff. Ernest through the chicken sandwich and missed. But like I said, everybody was throwing something. Like no one paid attention to where the object was going. But you know what I'm saying? Your boy got hit by it. And like he was a cool guy, very similar to me. He wasn't hostile. He wasn't no rah-rah type guy. He was actually less outgoing than me. He was a quiet, in a cut type person.
yeah, he was chill. He was
Yeah,
cool,
yeah,
little
very
quiet,
chill.
chill guy.
So that's what surprised me how hype he got. But he was with his boys, and you know how they work. You know how they work. So he turned around like it's crazy because I can see everything vividly. He
Yeah,
turned around, walked up on us, and we sitting at the table. Some people standing up and around the table. He was like, "Man, who threw that chicken sandwich?" Ernest, you remember Ernest had the fat cheekbone.
and you said he was eating the chicken sandwich,
Yeah, he
right?
was
Wasn't
still.
he eating the chicken
Man, he was
sandwich?
he was eating the chicken sandwich, so his mouth was like kind of full. Like man, and I was like, man, he didn't mean to throw it at you. If he did hit you, he didn't mean it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was throwing it at your boy. I forgot his name. He was throwing it at your boy. Like, nah, man, that ain't cool. Why you throw the chicken sandwich? So at that time, I've already explained what happened. Why? I feel like it ain't nothing else for me to say. Like,
Now
I
he's
actually hate when people do
continuing
that.
to,
Yeah, continue to
yeah,
edge it on or whatever, or whatever the case may be. So he was like, nah, that ain't cool or whatever. You have to hit me with the chicken sandwich, the chicken wrapper or the wrapper, whatever. Ernest like, I ain't mean to or whatever. So dude just hauled off and swung at Ernest and stuck him because Ernest was sitting down.
yeah. You
And I'm
said he hit
sitting
him pretty
right
good
here,
too.
Ernest. I'm sitting right here. Ernest to the left of me, and to the left of Ernest is Devon. So he kind of like over my shoulder a little bit. So I'm like this, like man, he ain't mean to whatever. So he's standing over Ernest like,
Yeah,
man,
yeah,
nah, like you have to do that. He just sprung on Ernest. And I tell you, like when he stuck Ernest, like at that moment, you already predetermined how the fight is going to go. And I'm like, oh, I know Ernest ain't going to get whooped. So he's scrapping on Ernest, and Ernest wrestled, and he was pretty strong. Ernest turned around,
yeah,
picked him up, and bailed him, and it was over from that. And then like I hate how people blow stuff up. You know what I'm saying? So Ernest Bantham. And you remember he had this. Probably a lot of people know. It's probably gonna give him away, but he had like false teeth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I didn't know he had. I didn't know. Maybe he did tell me that because I had a class with him,
Hmm.
and maybe he did tell me that or whatever. But yeah, I remember now that you say that, I can remember people talking about that.
Yeah, yeah. So they saying Ernest knocked his teeth out. Then he had on some Timberlands, and one of his Timberlands kind of like flew in the air. Cause you remember when people wore Timberlands, they didn't tie them up. They was
They used to wear
always
them
big.
loose. You
So
could run out of them bad boys.
yeah, yeah, people used to run out of yeah, yeah. So when he picked them up, his Timberland flew in the air. Boom, he hit the ground. Ernest was whacking on him. His teeth, you know what I'm saying, went another direction. So at that point, like his homeboys and stuff right there, Devon was like, man, you remember people say that, you know what I'm saying, so one on one, I've been not touching, but me, Devon, it was somebody else had
I
like a
feel like y'all said Dip was there.
Dip. That's exactly who it was. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, Dip, because I was like, it was three of us right there, and they had to be
'Cause I
somebody
felt
else.
like you said I can feel because I remember you saying it was Devon that hit him first because he was getting hyped
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or whatever. You know,
I
Devon
don't even
used to. You
think
said he was
Devon
like,
meant to hit him, but Devon was like, whoop his ass, whoop his ass. And you remember he had them long arms, he was standing on top of it like
yeah,
that. And yeah, because it was Dip, because it was all three of us. We had like a trio. So security was trying
yeah,
to
because y'all
bust
made
in.
sure
Nobody
nobody
jump in.
could
We
get
had we
through.
had like we had a full circle around him, just us three, like a triangle. And everybody was, trying to jump in. I remember security, and then in my mind, I'm like, dang, we holding security back. Like I really thought we was gonna get in trouble for that. Like, you know what I'm saying? We had him, and Devon was swinging on him, and few kicks came, bam, bam. You know what I'm saying? Just for the,
Yeah,
just for the finishing touches, and then security came and grabbed Ernest. You know what I'm saying? And that was it. And his mama shipped him
yeah.
off right after that. Like I remember, I remember.
Ernest's mother shipped him off right after that because that was towards the end of the school year
Yeah,
too.
and she had said, if you get in trouble again, I'm gonna send you out of state, with his other people. So I remember it's crazy
Uh-huh.
because we hype, what I'm saying? We like, trying to get a little name for ourselves, a little click. So we get to the bus, his
Yeah,
whole demeanor changed. Like he like, man, my mama gonna be mad, man. She gonna put me. I'm like, no, like you defended yourself. Like he hit you. And I'm
right,
like,
right.
ain't no way your mama do not understand. So he like, man, come down there with me and try to talk out. Me and Missy Vet had a good
Yeah,
relationship, my opinion. So I went down there with.
yeah,
I'm still
yeah.
hyped though, because I'm imagining when we go back tomorrow, how it's gonna be. But
Y'all celebrities
yeah,
now.
you know what I'm saying? We got
Cause
to
it was
look up,
talked about. It was talked about.
it ain't nothing but a popularity show. You know how high school is. So
Of course, of course.
we went to his crib, man. And I remember walking up there. I'm like, he let her know he got suspended or whatever for a few days, and she just looking. You know what I'm saying? She just looking, listening to us. And I feel it. I'm like, nah, she ain't going. Like, I'm like, like he defended, like we was chilling, we was at lunch. I ain't even mentioned that your boy threw the Ernest threw the chicken
The
wrapper.
Ernest
You know what I'm
Stewart.
saying? I
Yeah.
left that out, but I'm like, they was throwing stuff. He assumed it was Ernest, and he punched Ernest first. I don't care. Ernest, I told him already, So go ahead and say goodbyes. And like I'm like I was like, say your goodbyes. Like I promise she should it seemed like she shipped them off in 2-3 days. They was gone.
He had the ticket ready.
Yeah,
Like
for
she
real.
already
You know
knew
what I'm saying?
Ernest
And
was
I'm like,
about to mess up.
and for me, like coming into high school, I was with Ernest all that summer. So, before my freshman year. So he was giving me out a rundown, how it's gonna be. And you remember
Yeah,
he
yeah.
got put out my freshman year in like September. We tried out for the rest of the team together. I was gonna
I
continue, but
forgot
without him,
that
I was like, I didn't want to wrestle without my boy. So the next year he came back. I was ready for him to come
came
back
back.
to get put out again. I was like, dang, man.
I forgot that because cause he came in, cause I was a year ahead of you.
Uh-huh.
And we came in the same year.
Right.
And Ernest and I had always been tight
Uh-huh.
and we got back tight because once again we back in school together now, and we had a class together and all of
Uh-huh.
that, so we was tight. And then I forgot he got put out that following year,
Yep.
and then that was my sophomore year. He got put out. He came back junior year. He came back full force.
Yeah.
Like he came back. He was fighting. It was, cause I used to always say him and Ryan held the record. Him and Ryan Stevenson
Yeah.
had the record for most fights in our hood,
Yeah, man.
in school
Ernest.
and out of school
Yeah, yeah. Ernest was
and
fighting
out of
his
school.
ass off. And then, as a parent now, I understand it. Like, he was getting a lot of trouble. Then some stuff, stuff just came his way. Like a lot of stuff Ernest couldn't even afford. You know what I'm saying? I remember a lot of problems
Uh-huh.
used to my brother used to ask him all the time, like, man, like what do you be doing? He'd be like, man, I don't know. I be doing
And then if you doing it, why do you always be by yourself?
right.
Like, why do you always? Because I can remember it was some random dudes that called him out. I still don't know who these dudes are, but
Mhm.
it was some. You remember it was some random dudes that they said pulled up out south
Yeah, and hopped out on
and
him.
had an issue with him. It's like what?
Man. And then after that fight at Vicky house with Suave and Kid and all them, we went to school the next week and they ain't catch nobody but Ernest.
But Ernest, like, it's wild, man. And it wasn't like Ernest was really just out there the most popular person like that. He
Yeah.
wasn't no like nobody, but it wasn't like he wasn't no more seen than anybody else.
Right. I don't know what Ernest had going on, man. It just like Trouble was just attracted to Ernest, man. But then also, the way Ernest talked, Ernest he wasn't like arrogant and he wasn't an asshole. But at that time, no one wanted to hear what he had to say. Like he's the get involved with a lot of conversations and motherfuckers just man, I don't want to hear that. Like he was always just
Yeah,
different in that manner. With me, like even if I wanted to say it, I just stay quiet. But Ernest, he was a talker. You know, you talk about something he know,
yeah,
and then if he know more than you, a lot of people didn't like that when you knew more than them.
yeah, yeah. They was him and because he was the oldest of four
Mm-hmm.
brothers. Well, four siblings, and it was four of them and all boys.
Boy, yeah, yeah.
And a lot of times that's how it is with the oldest. You trying to figure out your way, and you got to fight a lot of the fights.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? To kind of set the tone for your siblings.
Yep, yep.
You know what I mean? And Ernest used to get because me and Ernest go back to maybe even before that. I think it's maybe first grade. I think it's first grade, yeah, because that picture a guy added me as a friend,
Mm-hmm.
and it was first grade, and it was Ernest, it was Dip, it was Stephen Shaw, but yeah, I've
Yeah,
known
yeah.
Ernest since
I
first
sent that
grade.
picture to Ernest too. I sent it to him.
Yeah, I think I tried to add him as a friend and send it to him. But yeah, me and Ernest go back to first grade, and I can remember Ernest. See me, I wasn't early on. I wasn't the most. I wasn't. I still don't consider myself the toughest. But early on, I didn't develop that sense of aggression to where people would see me and not bother me. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? However, I didn't never really get picked on because I was seeing that as like pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I had an older brother who was active, and anybody who knew my older brother, whether in the hood or if they lived in the hood and then went to school with me that was a little older, that kind of helped. You know what I mean? Until I was old enough to fend for myself.
Mm-hmm.
But Ernest, it was different. He was the oldest.
Right.
And I can remember, he used to get picked on, unfortunately. And it's unfortunate, man, but even me, I've never been a bully. I don't like bullies. And that's why you remember going back to the story that we just referenced, y'all didn't tell me for a while that y'all actually like got some licks in 'cause I was upset or whatever. And
Yeah,
y'all was
we
like,
already
y'all
knew
was
what your
really weren't
reaction was
telling me
gonna
the
be.
truth. Yeah, y'all really weren't telling me the truth. And I remember
I think it
a
was Dip.
female
The
who we
one was like, you know what I'm saying, German don't even have to know about it.
you don't even gotta know, man. Because my morals were strong, and Mr. Softy, I don't like to see
Uh-huh.
people get bullied. I do understand it, but yeah. So even me as a person that's not a bully, there are certain people that you can look at and you can be like, yeah, I can see why they bully him. And I'm not gonna lie, growing up, Ernest was that kid where it's like I can see why he's a target, an easy target
Hmm.
for a bullet
Yeah, yeah. So any
or whatever.
chance
And
he got, like, to fight, he made sure he fought, and it probably was because of that reason. Because I ain't meet him, at that age. I met
mhm.
Ernest fifth grade, fourth grade, fifth grade. I think that's about the time,
Yeah,
I finally met Ernest. And he's been that same way from that moment I met him all the way, up until now, of course.
yeah, and I mean, about middle school, you have to, you know what I mean? But yeah, I can remember he was a person that would get picked on, or people would try to fight him.
Mm.
Maybe not even picked on, but people would try to fight him, and you fight enough, you learn how to fight.
Right, right, right.
You know what I mean? But and it don't help. Like he was that different type of person. You know, he was that person that paid attention in science class, knew about rocks and minerals, knew about nature and all of that. And yeah, and a lot of people, we growing up in the hood, that ain't cool.
Nah, that was
You know
cool.
what I mean? So
And that sucks too, man. Like off topic on
yeah, it
topic.
really does.
That sucks because, like I say, like I knew a lot about it. The difference between me and Ernest. Ernest didn't mind talking about it. I was aware, I
Hmm.
could read the room, like, this ain't conversation that, I should be talking about. And then, as I got older, I, kind of I ain't gonna say hated myself for it, but kind of like, I should have been able to talk about, anything. You should be able to talk about anything you want to talk about, even if you feel like the people around you is too dumb to know about it. And that's the reality of it. Just because these motherfuckers didn't know about it, didn't mean we didn't have a right to talk about it. And you
It's
remember,
funny, right?
Ernest and them used to build the tree house, and we used to go fishing on Sundays. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Man, like I remember I was really amazed that them dudes legit built a treehouse.
yeah,
And we was about 16, right?
yeah.
So Ernest was the oldest one, and they had already had it built. So they had to start built. They had to have that built or
Mm-hmm.
started it by the time. And Ernest was about 14,
Mm-hmm.
and the rest of them, his younger brothers, the youngest one was probably about 9, about 8 maybe. You
And
know
what's
what I mean? But they
crazy,
legit built a
I
actual
don't
clubhouse.
I don't care how tough dudes were back then, how street they was, how hard. Everybody was amazed about that treehouse. Like, it's plenty guys who probably wouldn't even admit it right now, probably try to fight me and shoot me if I,
If you said it,
if I said it, like, because I used to, I was always the fly on the wall. People always overlooked me, forget I was even
yeah,
there.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I remember a lot of people, man, let me go see the treehouse, man. We go down there, we smoking at the treehouse, chilling, and everybody was amazed by that treehouse. I know I was. That was some of the
Yeah.
coolest shit ever.
Yeah, because I don't care what nobody say. Most of us, even if you growing up, if you grow up, if you start selling, drugs or whatever, you start banging. Most of us grew up watching those kid-friendly movies.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we may have watched some rated R movies that we
Right?
shouldn't have been watching, but we watched those kid-friendly movies where you see an actual treehouse,
Yeah.
right? So that's something but I ain't never seen nothing like that in real life.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? This is cool to me. I don't care what nobody say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and that's what's interesting with Ernest and his brothers too. Had they been living in a different area,
Mm-hmm.
they would have been some of the most popular,
Yeah,
probably.
definitely, definitely.
And that takes me to I had another question, and I can remember where this thought came from. And I'm in youth development, right?
Mm-hmm.
I work with different partnering schools with my job, and I remember one school that I went to in particular. It was a middle and high school, right? And I'm there, and I'm in there, and they have like a campus,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm in there. It's diverse group of kids, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
Middle school too, middle and some high school. And bro, when I tell you, it was like being on the set of a Disney movie. Legit. Like I'm walking through, it's diverse group of kids getting along. It's some boys playing foursquare, and they having good sportsmanship. Oh, good shot. I'm over there watching. Hey, you want to play? And I'm like, me? I'm the adult though. Look, me? Yeah, getting in playing. And in this field, anytime you're working with youth, You see a kid by themselves, you think maybe, "What's going on? Like, are you okay? You have a bad day?
Hmm.
You're not getting along with other kids?" So those kids, you naturally, like, wanna go over there and just make sure they're okay. Went over there and talk to one, like, "Hey, how's it going?" "Good. Yeah, just wanted to check. You alright?" "Oh, yeah, I'm just reading my book. I'm fine." You know what I mean? Just reading a book over there in the sun,
Hmm.
and it made me think, they playing soccer outside, you know what I mean? This group over here practicing cheer or something, but anyway, it really made me think. Now, I wouldn't trade my life, my family, how I came up for nothing. But I will ask you the question because I do think about this. Do you ever think what you would have been like had you grown up in a different environment? And when I mean different, I mean not an impoverished community, a diverse community, or even if not diverse, but not an impoverished community, and grew up with different opportunities and different resources.
I definitely think about it. Cause I was a kid that imagined a lot. Watched a lot of Disney Channel. I wanted to live the lifestyles that I seen on TV. So yeah, of course I imagined it. And then like I had times where I lived in Eaglesville with my uncle, and that was a different environment also. So I had a chance to get a piece of what it could have been like. And I for sure think about that. I can't tell you how much. It's probably been a while, but I did definitely think about it. And just the reality of it and the facts of it, we would have had a different lifestyle. We would have lived a different lifestyle, could have had a different outcome than, the outcome that we have now.
Better or worse?
Yeah,
Better
yeah,
or
better,
worse,
yeah,
to
you
be
better
honest.
or worse. You never know how it's gonna go. But of course I knew it would have been different no matter what. But
Yeah.
then but it's hard to stay within that thought because I also believe things happen for a reason to some extent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things happen the way they were supposed to. So, I kind of lose the thought at that point right there. But I definitely do think about it. And even with my son, I call him, the suburban kid. Like I can
And you
see
see
that
that with
side
him growing up
now,
now.
kind of compared to the way I lived, and I can see a difference even in my own child. I got cousins that
Yeah.
that's still in the city, in the inner city, urban neighborhoods or whatever. So, it is a big difference on where you grow up at and how you grow up.
And and of course I think about that too, but you wouldn't change it because I wouldn't be the person I am today. Definitely wouldn't change that.
Uh,
And I love my family, and not to say it would have had to been a different family or something, but I love my family just the way they are.
right, right, right.
Uh, but you do me in this field, and I've been working in youth development for 15 years, and I learn more and more every day, got a better understanding now. And I try to give parents in low income communities living in public housing, I try to give them grace because a lot of it is stress and a lot
Hmm.
of it is coping and a lot of it is, just taking out, and they could be, I'm not going to say they take out their anger, but there's a lot more stress and a lot more worries that occupy their time,
I mean, well,
you know.
don't pull back on that because that is some people's reality. Some parents do take their frustration out on their children. I'm
Yeah,
not
I'm
gonna
trying
lie
to,
and say
yeah, and that is
haven't
very
seen it.
true.
No, because I have seen a lot of
Hmm.
parents, take that frustration out on their kids, and it
Hmm.
sucks because a lot of times they don't know how to deal with their emotions, and kids are aggravating. Kids gonna get on your nerves. It's like it's inevitable not to
Hmm.
happen. A lot of them have taken that frustration out on their kids, and it just they don't know how to, deal with their own frustration. Some people just didn't have the outlet,
Hmm.
also, and then if they did have the outlet was a negative environment or negative situation. A kid always get
Yeah,
affected
and
by
if
it.
they had a positive one, yeah, and if they have a positive outlet, they don't have the time or the financial means to take advantage of that outlet.
True.
If they have the outlet at all,
Hmm.
and it's tough, and it's just more to worry about. And when you
Hmm.
think about us growing up in the hood and some of the things we saw from some of our peers, You know what I mean? And some of the things that we saw in our environment, we probably was exposed to too soon, and we shouldn't have been exposed to it at all.
Yeah.
And think about it, some people that had some much worse experiences than us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? People that have seen their parents use drugs in front of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's people that have used drugs with their parents at an
Mm-hmm.
early age. You know what I mean? It's always a funny. It's horrible. It's horrible. But my brother said it, and it was kind of like a clapback at one of his friends or whatever. But my brother was active in the streets
Mm-hmm.
at one point, and but he had a good childhood as well, and was raised as he was raised as a good kid and had a pretty normal childhood, like myself, like we did,
Mm-hmm.
as normal as it could be given the circumstances. And I remember, and I've told you this story before, but I can remember he was at the house, and he was watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Mm-hmm.
That's our era. We grew up on them Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle
Right.
movies,
Right.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies. One of his friends came over and was trying to joke with him. It was like, dang, bro, you in here watching kid movies, ain't you? Or something like that. And my brother told him, motherfucker, I can't help I grew up watching this and you grew up watching motherfuckers do dope or whatever. I was like, he did not have to hit him with that, man.
He went straight to the
My
throat.
God, my God. But that is the harsh reality that some kids witness that.
Mm-hmm.
And when they witness that, or when they witness a relative getting shot or losing a relative or whatever the case may be, they've witnessed a murder in front of them. It's you kind of expect that they're gonna have some trauma, and it's just gonna, and if they don't deal with it, it's gonna get passed down to their children,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. You know what I mean? But that's for real. That's
Yeah.
that's very unfortunate. And we talk about this too. It's hard trying to break that cycle.
Yeah.
It is hard trying to break that cycle, and it's an uphill battle. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it does make you think. We wouldn't be the people we are now, but I think us as the adults now, we know better, so we have to do better.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
You
Definitely.
know what I mean?
And when you think about if you was in a different, different area, different environment, who's to say how better it will be? Because I've met a lot of people who, once they mention where they grew up at, and, they might say the type of house they have or whatever. You would think, well, you had a better life, but when you get outside of, lower income areas and the urban areas, you get into the suburbs. A lot of those parents have to work endless hours just to make up, just to keep up with, the type of lifestyles they live. I'd have met people went over their house and they
Mhm.
mother or they father gone 12 to 16 hours a day. We in their house by themselves. They are raising themselves pretty much, versus us where our parents is there all the time and we get to see our parents. We have a lot of more memories. And
Mhm.
they, wishing they had the lifestyle we
Yeah,
have, and we wish we had the lifestyle they have. And it's just crazy, how it works
that's
out.
how it goes.
They,
The
sometimes we're
grass
not
always
eating.
looks greener, and that's why it is.
We're not eating because we don't have enough money, and they not eating just because their parents not there to cook, cook for them, or working too much they can't go grocery shopping. Shit, it's crazy
Yeah,
how it works.
yeah, yeah. Grass always looks greener, and a lot of those kids, I'm not sure what the actual statistics say,
Mm-hmm.
but you do often hear stories of them being depressed and unfortunately attempting to take their own life due to not feeling love from
Mm-hmm.
their parents. So yeah, the grass isn't always greener, and it ain't no perfect way to raise a child. You know what I mean? And once again, I wouldn't change how I grew up for anything. And I think about, you do a lot of self-reflecting, and I think about myself, and as much, and now I'm grown, don't really have as much time, but as much as I love sports growing up,
Mm-hmm.
basketball, football, and I think I'm quite sure I've told you this, but due to my, and I can show it on camera, but my condition when I was born, I had a tracheotomy.
Mm-hmm.
My windpipe was too small. So because of that, it was hesitancy with me, doing too much anyway.
Right. Right.
Right. It was a little bit of hesitancy for me, my family was a little bit more timid with me,
Hmm.
and it wasn't until I was about 10 or so, 10 or 11, where the doctor said that I was completely healthy
Okay.
and I can do anything that any other kid could do.
Hmm.
And not to say like I had special treatment or anything when I went to school, but it was that fear of me playing sports or getting too active because, this was a first. The
Right.
pipe was too small and they had to perform a tracheotomy,
Uh-huh.
didn't know what would be too much for me. And I think about if that wasn't the case and, I would have been in the sports early, and let's say I would have got put into sports early, I would have, maybe been more active in sports and I may have became a cocky jock. You know what I mean? One of those, not to say all jocks are cocky, but I may have became cocky because I'm an athlete.
Right. Right.
Right. And so even with that, I just think about it and it's like, you know what, but my path was for me and
Hmm.
definitely wouldn't change it. But man, I'm not gonna hold you too long. It's a work night. Both of us got to be at work tomorrow. Yeah, did you want to say anything to close it out? And I hope you have a good work week, man.
Yeah. 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 You know, no, I ain't really got nothing to say. I'm just glad we're able to get at least an episode in, man. Past couple weeks been like I said, crazy, just busy and being short staffed. Working so many hours. Like before this week came in, before I had a off day this past weekend. Not even this past weekend. I have off day this past weekend, but the weekend before that, I worked 28 shifts in 21 days. Excuse me. Like, and now I'm still going on with right back on what day 9, I think day 9 or day 10.
Already.
Yeah, 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 man.
Yeah, and see, it's funny when we talk and you tell me about, those, you give me that information. Like I worked 21 days, got an off day back. Now I'm up to 9 days straight, not to mention the multiple shifts.
Right.
Because it's not just one shift that you've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's you may have a day where you do a shift and a half or two
Mm-hmm.
shifts, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, you tell me that, and then by the time we get to like I'm calling maybe to vent to you a little bit, and after you tell me, I'm like, yeah, I don't really got nothing to say. Yeah, yeah, I don't even want to. Yeah, my problems ain't that bad. I'm not gonna lie to you. We both are in leadership,
Yeah.
and our situations are different because your organization is open 24 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me and youth development, it's a certain time. So it may get pretty rough,
Mm-hmm.
for a few hours for
But
me,
it
but at
cuts
least I
off at some
know,
point.
unless, yeah, unless something major happens,
Mm-hmm.
but for the most part, it's going to slow down. So yeah, yeah, you tell me that, you told me that. I try not to vent too much to you no more.
Yeah, man.
No, it's more checking how are you doing? Yeah, just, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
let me know. Yeah, how you doing? Just, you know.
But yeah, man, but every situation is different. Of course, this is what I signed up for. Not exactly, but I was aware that it will be days like this. It will be moments like this. But it's all about building the right team, investing the time in training them properly. So it'll pay out at the on the and that's where I'm at right now. So
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
getting better and it's gonna get better.
Yeah, and for sure. And like you said, you signed up for it, you knew this would be the case sometimes. And, you sign up for it, you keep doing it until you decide though, yeah, this is not gonna work for me. And I'm not saying you should do that like at all, but I'm saying a lot of people, you know, you sign up, know what you sign up for, and if you do sign up for it, if you expect to get paid, do the job and do it until you decide that, hey, this ain't for me no more.
Right, right,
But yeah, so we making it happen, man.
right. Hmm.
But yeah, man, enjoy the rest of your work week. I will try to do the same. And yeah, we're just trying to be 1% better every day, just trying to be better than we was the day before.
Yes, Lord.
But all right, man. All right, y'all. We closing this thing out. Until next time. Spare no effort.
No effort.